I was literally having this, I guess, a discussion with Grant, who is our wonderful tech guy all the time, standing true back there. Everybody's around. You know, the tech booth doesn't get enough credit. They're the unsung heroes. And see, I got you, Grant. I see you. Anyway, so Grant and I were having this discussion in the booth, literally like during this song, because my initial plan was I had a video of what I'm about to do up here. And Grant was like, you should really do the video and not actually make this happen. And it was like, well, should we? And he was like, you either commit or you don't. And I was like, well, then I'm committing. So, again, remember, this is youth and this is what we do. So, go ahead and put the slide up. This is, and there's a song. Go ahead with the song. Just lightly though, not too much. Okay. We have one of our youth here. Bailey, would you come on forward, please? So I'm going to have Bailey do something, and I'm not going to explain why. And then we're going to do some other stuff, and I'm not going to explain why. And then we'll talk about why. So, Bailey, there's some bread here. We can leave this song playing, yeah. That's where we go. There's some bread here. And there's some utensils if you can, but I would like you to make a peanut butter sandwich with your feet. With your feet. Yeah, you use your toes. Oh, no, just, okay. Oh, right, there we go. Mm-hmm. Yep, she's making a peanut butter sandwich with her feet. Is everybody seeing this? Anybody need to get a different angle? There's a peanut butter sandwich being made with feet right now. Yeah, there's a lot of peanut butter there. Don't get it on the stage, please. Use precision. Come on. Oh, jeez. Oh, man, that's gross. At least your nails are done. That looks nice. Your feet are a focal point. You could have had, nasty, nail beds and stuff. So there's that. Don't worry. We're all just waiting for you to make this sandwich. I have a towel, but it's just not enough peanut butter yet. Everybody getting this? This is what's happening. This is what I'm doing in here. This is your reality. This is what church is. All right, I feel like that's enough. Can everybody, here's your towels for your feet. There's 2 of them.
Thanks.
Everybody give Bailey a round of applause. She so graciously came up here and put her feet on the line. All right, can you get that? I'm just going to move this.
Okay.
All right, there we go. So, again, I had a video, and I chose to do this in real life. Now it's going to get even weirder. Who wants to eat this sandwich? No, seriously. Who wants to eat this sandwich? Will you take a bite of this sandwich? Why don't you stand for this so everybody can see it happen?
Is it weird though that I'm eating the same?
I mean, I had a plant ready if you wouldn't have, but... You know what, sir? I'm going to get you a Highway t-shirt. Hold on a second. Bailey, can you run in that closet and get that man a Highway t-shirt? He has earned it. He is a youth guy for life. So, why on God's creation did I just make somebody make a peanut butter sandwich with their feet? And then, it seemed like he enjoyed it, so just privileged another person to eat said sandwich. Does anybody have any ideas? Yeah, well, other than the fact that I'm crazy. Thanks. Always positive encouragement words. Make me feel good. No, it's because feet are gross. Feet are super gross. And we live in a time where feet have never been cleaner. This is as good as feet have been historically. We've got lotions and creams and powders that aid in overall foot health. We have regular showers and sanitation and things like that keep our feet fairly clean. We have socks and shoes and all of these things. So collectively we can agree, while feet are still gross, they're about as clean as they've ever been. Does everybody agree with that? Okay, good. Well, then we're on the same page. We're moving forward. So, that being said, I had 2 individuals in this room that were willing to eat a foot sandwich. Why is that? Because even though we say that feet are cleaner than they've ever been, we all agree that feet sanitation, if that's a thing. I don't know if it's like a real category I'm creating here, but overall feet, this is as good as this is the apex of feet cleanliness, and we still think they're gross. We still think they're nasty. So much so that like eating a sandwich or watching people touch things with their feet, just collectively, everybody was kind of uncomfortable, and I deeply apologize. You don't have to tell James about this if you don't want to. I'm not telling you can't, and we're all about honesty, but just, it could stay here. But anyway, I did this because I wanted to demonstrate the gravity of something that we see in Scripture. And that was this mealtime tradition back in ancient Israel. And it was the washing of the feet. And this was typically done by a servant. So basically, people walked around all day. And their feet were like exponentially dirtier than our feet. Like, cannot put into words how much nastier their feet were. They walked everywhere in makeshift sandals, like not sandals, we're not talking about like, what's a popular brand of sandals? Chacos, that's what I was looking for. We're not talking about full Chacos or Birkenstocks. I'm hip. Hey. We're not talking about these high-end sandals. We're talking about like raw materials and rope. And it was like a hide string. But anyway, the point is their feet were nasty. So much so that like from walking everywhere, the dust, the animal stuff all over the place, and everything, that when someone would come to someone's home for feast, it was accepted that like you've showered, you've bathed, you're clean overall, but your feet are gross, and so we have to clean you up before you can participate in a meal. And so a servant would clean everybody's feet. And so it's the night before Jesus is going to go to Calvary, and he's with his friends, he's with his disciples, and they're about to share a meal together. And what happens? But Jesus grabs a towel, wraps it around his waist, grabs a bowl, and he goes to wash his disciples' feet. And in the scripture, this is appalling because of Jesus' stature and his position. It's so much so that Peter, and I love Peter so much, we kind of give Peter a hard time, but I give Peter credit because I like Peter. He's always got something to say. And sometimes it's great and sometimes it's wrong. But Peter just straight up is like, no. He's just like right in Jesus' face, like, don't you touch my feet. He's all flustered about it. And he straight up refuses Jesus. And Jesus is like, listen, I kind of know what I'm doing. You should let this happen. And so then, he gets carried away on the other side. And he's like, well, then wash my whole body. And Jesus is like, just the feet. Just calm down. But, so he does. He gets down and he washes everybody's nasty feet. The man that was supposed to be in the position of honor, the man who had the most prestige in the room, got down like a servant and washed everybody's nasty feet. And I just sat on that moment. I was just like, but why? Seriously, why would he do that? And one line of scripture before everything really hit home for me. And Bailey, if you could put that up for me. It said, just before the Passover feast, Jesus knew that the time had come to leave this world and to go to the Father. Having loved his dear companions, he continued to love them right to the end. And it was supper time. And that's where I'm going to stop right there. That sentence right there, he loved them. And he was going to love them to the very end. And I think about that moment. And I think about what was going through his mind, or just ponder what was going through his mind. To have a love that fuels you so deeply that you're willing to humble yourself so much for your friends, for the people that you care about, for the people that you consider your companions. And I don't know how many of you were here for my sermon about the church, in the sense that we are the church, and it's not this building, but it's this people. And I got to thinking about this love and this people. And so much so that Jesus says to his disciples, like, do this. Do this to your friends, to your disciples. Go out and do this. And I don't think, and it's fair to say I think everyone's on board with this, but I don't think he was talking about go wash feet really good. Go be really good at making sure everybody's clean before supper time. He was talking about love people like this. And I hang out on that. I think about that. I think about what that would look like. And that's exactly what his disciples went out and did. So going back to this idea of church, this movement of church, we see it in Acts, which is our next scripture coming up. Boom. So we see the disciples that come together and they're preaching, they're teaching, they're doing all this wonderful stuff. And in Acts we see everyone was around in awe at all the wonders and signs done through the apostles, and all the believers lived in wonderful harmony, holding everything in common. They sold whatever they owned. They pooled their resources so each person's needs were met. So you take this idea of love. It was rooted in these people. And it wasn't about washing feet. It was about living out a love that was so humbly rooted, so driven for one another, that we see this movement where people are selling stuff and giving things away and taking care of each other at all costs, no matter what. And they lived, and I love this word, harmony, perfect harmony, or wonderful harmony. Wonderful harmony. And I think about how heavy that statement is if we really stop and think about it. How hard relationships are if we really want to admit it. How hard small groups are if we're being honest. How hard marriage can be if we're being honest. But here we have people who lived in wonderful harmony, rooted on this love. And see, what I take about from this is back to this idea of church, right? So if we are the church, then so what, right? If the church isn't just this building, if it just isn't a place, if it isn't just this idea that we've made, and it's almost like, and I'm going to say a fancy word, it's not that fancy, it's really common, but it's called reductionism. And we suffer from it in our country in the sense that we've reduced things to their smallest parts because it makes it easy to understand. And we've done that with church in the sense that church is a place, it is a building. You know, it is a worship service, it is a sermon. It is those things. It is community meals and fellowship meals and small groups. It is those things, but it's also so much more than that. And we can't reduce it down to those simplest parts because, yeah, it's a building, but it's us. It's this community. And so what does that mean if it's supposed to be a community that's rooted in this love and in this community, in this wonderful harmony? Well, it means that each and every one of us are challenged to be the best we can be in our relationships, in our communities. And so it means that we have to be the church to the people in this very room. We have to be the ones that welcome people, that worship alongside people, that pray for one another, that are there for one another. And I think that is a movement that we can see throughout Scripture is powerful. Because at the same time that this Scripture is right before that, it said thousands of people were joining. Thousands. This movement, this love, this community was so powerful that thousands of people were just like, I don't know what is going on, but oh my goodness, I've got to be a part of it. I believe what's happening here. It's powerful, it's real, and I want to be a part of this. And that is the opportunity that each and every one of us have when it comes to being the church. We have an opportunity to love so holy, to be so humble, to be so beautifully in harmony with one another that it is infectious. It is infectious. People can't help but just be wanting to be a part of it. This idea that I'm talking about comes from this series that we've been doing in the youth, and it's something that we're carrying along all throughout the year, and it's called 4. And I tell you this because it really, I don't know, it brings gravity for me to this situation. It brings gravity to everything that we do. Because the narrative in our world right now, and I'll say this, we live in the Bible Belt, and it's I love it. Because my experience with church has been wonderful, and I have lots of positive things. But I just recently went to a conference, and I got to meet with a lot of other pastors who are all across the United States, and then actually some that were from like Africa. It was really cool. The opinion of church is pretty harsh. They see us as judgmental, as hypocritical. It's a bunch of hard words. And the problem is, the narrative that has been created in society is the church, the people, they're against. They're against this, they're against that. And it's these hard lines. And so this series 4 is that we want to write a new narrative as the church. We want to write a new narrative where we let the world know what we're for. And we do that in 3 ways. We do that by being for the insiders. We do that by being for outsiders and for everyone. And so this sermon for me is the starting point. It's that jumping off moment where we can stop, and maybe we're already doing it. And if so, this is a sermon of encouragement. Keep doing it. Because what you're doing in your small groups, what you're doing in these living life together and being community, what you're doing in prayer and love for each other, it makes so much of a difference. Because see, we're not talking about going on a crazy mission trip to Africa. We're not talking about going and digging some well. We're literally talking about find somebody that walked in alone and having a conversation. We're talking about praying for somebody who you know is struggling. We're talking about, raking up leaves at some lady's house who just can't take care of her home anymore. It's those little moments that create such powerful movements. And so for me, the church, we should look like love. We should look like that love that Jesus showed to his disciples. And then we should take that love and being for each other, taking care of each other's needs and everything else, then we take that and we go out. And we're for the outsiders. And we focus on that love that drives everything that we do.